Going live. How's everybody doing? Top of the mid-morning. Top of the mid-morning. Did you get the notification, man? Did you get the notification? I don't know if you got the notification. How's everybody doing today, man? Happy Easter, man. Did you have a good holiday with the family? I pray everybody had a good holiday with the fam, man. I hope you got to tap in with the loved ones. You know, we talk a lot about spirituality here on this channel, but it's for those people who haven't come to that understanding, it's more about definitely taking the opportunity when these times arrive to spend time with loved ones. You know, those of you who have those loved ones in your life, do not let petty, I'm not even going to say petty, man. I'm just going to, because some people take the stuff so to heart. Do not let differences get in the way, bro. You know, because there's always going to be differences between humans. There's always going to be disagreements. You know what I'm saying? Don't let differences get in the way, man. Don't let differences be the reason why you don't spend time with your peoples, man. You know, differences of opinions, differences of belief. You know what I'm saying? When these days and opportunities come by, man, take advantage, man. Take advantage, man. Take advantage. You know what I'm saying? Take advantage. So we're going to have us a conversation here today. I wonder how the thumbnail look, man. We're going to have us a conversation here today. So we seeing what spectacles we're going to go with today. Seeing what spectacles we're going to go with today. And seeing how the thumbnail look out there. How's everybody doing out there? TV live. TV, man. We getting it fired up, man. Share the show, man. Share the show. Let everybody know. Y'all know how it go. Share the show. Let everybody know. You know how it go. You know what I'm saying? Share the show. You know how it go. Let everybody know. We back on the go. Purpose of Podcast. Back with the blast. Back at it like a crack at it. Automatic like a fomatic, built from tragedy, made for static. It's your boy, Perfect Time Podcast, back with the blast, in and out with a dash. 2025 on last, so we're going to do this real fast. And today we talking again about our favorite topic about topics, you know what I'm saying? Our illustrious, you know what I'm saying, president, you know what I'm saying? So we got a few topics today. Some topics are just unbelievable that we got to talk about it again. And at a certain point, I don't know at what level of discussion we're going to have, because it's like, I believe the first conversation we had about it was such a thing that it was like such a flub that, you know, sometimes a quarterback is a new quarterback and he throws an interception and everybody, you know, there was naysayers from the beginning. So you might say that interception, they give him a pass on that first interception. But then, you know, it comes to be this quarterback that everybody's supposed to be this great quarterback continues to throw interceptions. So people, even on the side that may be pro this quarterback, is saying to themselves, you know, I'm pro, but you know, this guy, when do we call it? You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are saying, when do we call it? You know what I'm saying? With this particular guy, Pete. Like, all of us who may love Pete, love the cabinet, love Trump, like a second signal message message says a lot, you know. So the first time we talked about Pete, double tap, hit the like, everybody hitting the like button. Thank you, hitting the like button, double tap. The first time we talked about Pete and the signal, well, we talked about Tulsi Gabbard. I love Tulsi Gabbard. It was very surprising the way Tulsi Gabbard handled the first signal message. I think a lot of us have been, a little taken aback how things have rolled out in certain aspects of certain individuals who were chosen that we champion. A lot of us like Tulsi Gabbard for president, and we were very excited that Tulsi Gabbard was part of the cabinet. But when the first signal message debacle happened, the way Tulsi Gabbard handled it, a lot of us were surprised. To this day, we still do not adequately understand how in which a reporter was added to the first signal message. And to be honest, so many things have happened in the news. I did the one podcast, we had a great discussion in the chat, but have we honestly discussed, number one, who added the reporter to the first signal chat? And have we really did the fallout? I don't know if we really did. I don't think we did. I think so much has happened that we quickly moved on to something else. And I think Pete benefited. I think Pete Hegseth benefited. Now, today I saw a tweet, which was surprising to me. Some detractors was saying, Trump had a couple marriages, a couple kids. And then they said Pete had multiple marriages and 7 kids. I didn't know Pete had 3 marriages and 7 kids. So when this is what's happening with everybody on the team has to understand that we're at playoff level. You can't. This is not. We're not in the first leg of the season. You know what I'm saying? In this last 4 years, in this Trump administration, everybody on the Trump team, the Trump cabinet, got to understand that we are at playoff level and that we have to be playing in a championship manner at all times. And I don't see that from everybody. And I think there needs to be a reset. Like, okay, we talked briefly about the fact that Elon Musk is leaving Doge. We talked about that last week. So, and this happens a lot with championship teams. I mean, it happens in the middle of the championship game. Sometimes you got to call an audible, you know what I'm saying? So we seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of that lately with what's happening with the rearrangement of how Doge is running. And now I don't know how it may go with Pete, but the fact that the first time this happened, you had a reporter added to the chat, and then what was never really discussed, or I don't know if the people adequately answered, do you feel like the content, because we read the content here, the number one, how and why were the messages released? If they were confidential messages on this Signal app, which we learned from Tulsi Gabbard, that they were confidential messages. So we learned from Tulsi Gabbard they were confidential. They were confidential messages. We learned that the Signal app is an app that's We learned that the Signal app is an app that's given to them on the CIA given devices. We talked about how how I worked in healthcare IT and how I was given devices on the first day. And we talked about me being older, having a RAS token, and having a RAS token and VPN, RAS token, VPN. So I understood a lot when it was discussed about the Signal app, how the Signal app was even given to because that for those younger people who may not, it's a lot of millennials, like coming out of COVID. We're going to talk about Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset today. So coming out of COVID, I understand a lot of people haven't had jobs like this and don't understand a lot about, VPN, you know what I'm saying, RAS tokens and having issued, this is high level employment when you get in a job. These are careers, man. This is not like working at like fast food, you know what I'm saying? It's not like working at fast food or something like that. So when you get a career, when they're providing you expensive devices and instructions in their career, and they're telling you to use this device for this communication, and then telling you what app to use when you communicate with the device. So I understood the first signal debacle. It was understandable for those of us professionals. Like, I got it. Like, okay, they gave you this phone, they gave you Signal, they told you to use Signal. Everybody on that first chat was all official. That's the one thing. The one thing about the first mistake was that everybody on the first Signal chat was all official. The only person that wasn't supposed to be on the Signal chat was the reporter. What's up, the Big Daddy Beer Gaming in the building? So that was the only person who was not supposed to be. So that made it suspect, right? That made it suspect. Why is this person? To this day, we don't know how and why that person got added. And then I don't believe adequate punishment was handed out, because number one, you had a reporter added to the chat, and then what I said on the channel is that that reporter should have left the chat and then contacted the White House through his channels and say, hey, you have a security leak. But instead, the reporter released the text messages in order to expose somebody that he considers a political opponent. But I didn't hear anybody get arrested. So I believe because nobody got arrested and there was no punishment for the first time, and we never understood how and why that reporter got added to the Signal chat. And then the people never discussed whether or not we felt like the content was of a secret level, right? 5.0, 5.0, 5.0. We never discussed that. So now here it is again, a second Signal debacle. And this time, everybody on the group chat is not official. This time, everybody on the chat is not official. And then now this is what gonna cause out Pete credibility beyond what the naysayers and the haters, because we're not listening to the naysayers and the haters, right? We support and we believe in America. We believe in our brother. You know what I'm saying? So men make mistakes, but beyond that, I don't believe that first Signal issue was actually a mistake made by Pete or the Trump cabinet. And I believe it should have been handled differently, seeing as what just happened on this second Signal chat. So the second Signal chat, you have people on the chat that's not quote unquote official. So you got Pete's brother and you got his wife. So now it looks a little bit different, because the first time, from my professional perspective, having the VPN, having a RAS token, having been given devices, having been given specific communication apps to use, I understood all that the first time. So this second time, knowing that you've been given a government device and you've been told by the government, the CIA, to use Signal to communicate in a certain aspect, now your wife and your brother is on the group chat. Okay, this is a lot to unpack. Why is your wife and your brother on the group chat? And why are we still using group chats? Shout out to Tim Dillon, one of my favorite comedians. He got his new Netflix special. He's doing interviews everywhere. Y'all check that out. Why? And Tim Dillon eviscerated Pete on the group chat almost 2 weeks ago. To come and find out that after that issue, you still using the group chat. I understand if you're still using the government phone, but you should have got a new phone. After that last issue, everybody on that group chat, if I'm JD Vance and I'm young, and I'm slick and I'm hot, I already know, get a new phone. Get a new phone. If I'm JD Vance, man, I'm not, number one, if I'm JD Vance, I'm not in no more group chats with Pete. Pete, I need you to communicate with me directly, one-on-one, not via text, and we're going to communicate via this phone right here. Get Pete a brand new phone that's only for me and Pete to communicate, and that's how we're going to communicate anything that's going on the national defense. No more group chats, no more Signal. That's number one. We need to understand what type of meeting took place. That story went away so fast, and because it went away so fast, I believe it wasn't handled properly. We should not still be using group chats. We can debate whether or not we still should be using Signal as an app, right? Because it's already compromised on when that reporter got on Signal. So we can debate whether or not Signal should still be used as an app, but we definitely should not be using group chats to communicate this type of information. And at the very least, what I need Pete to do is come out and say that we're no longer using group chats to eliminate this tactic of attack. Because if we are being cyber attacked via the group chat, if the group chat is vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? It could be young people in high school right now watching. You know what I'm saying? Saying, man, OG don't even understand that the group chats is vulnerable to low-level hackers. You know what I'm saying? When you start adding in multiple people into a conversation, then you expose yourself to get other people accidentally or not accidentally, or allow hackers to get into your phone conversation that we already know is hackable, right? So if this is the case, if we know group chats are vulnerable, then number one, at a certain level, and this should be across the board, if you're in business, if you're in tech, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people are in I was just thinking about angel investing. As I was sweeping and mopping this morning, I'll be listening to current. I got a vinyl collection. Shout out to my brother, Big Daddy Big Game. And Big Daddy, you know you like a DJ. People say I got a voice like a DJ, but I got a vinyl collection, and I was listening to Currency when I was mopping, and he talked about oh fuck, I had lost my train of thought. They said, what do you guys think about the next pope? Should we have a black one now? That's you know, sometimes the trolls get it right, you know. He said, what do you guys think about the next pope? Should we have a black one now? So a lot of people, when you do the vertical live, you don't get like a consistent repeat audience. I got my brother, he came in real quick. So salute to you, bro. But you don't get a consistent audience. So you just drop a little question, like a little troll, and then get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? But when you say black, we've actually talked a lot on this channel about how people interpret the term black and black privilege. I mean, to explain black privilege, we went into Barack Obama and Kamala Harris and another individual I won't go into right now. But we talked about how Barack Obama had to assimilate blackness and Kamala Harris had to assimilate blackness to be visible in American politics. So when you say black as it relates to these appointed positions, like you might not think it's an appointed position like the president, but it's damn sure an appointed position like the president when we're talking about the Pope. So when you say black Pope, I think you were trying to be a troll, but inadvertently by trolling, you brought up a good topic because we're talking about today, Klaus Schwab is out at the World Economic Forum. Letitia James getting her comeuppance, and we starting off with Pete Hegseth flubbing another signal chat. But what I did not put in the title is this Pope question. So I'm happy you brought it up, the black Pope, because Barack Obama was Kenyan with a white mother, and Barack Obama told us he was raised by his white grandmother, who he inherited millions of dollars from, and his white grandmother was the head of a bank. A lot of people don't have a life like that. Barack Obama lived on the beach. He went to Harvard University, and his grandmother was the head of a bank, and he inherited a lot of money. This white woman, now think about this, this white woman who he attributes so much of his character to, right, who he looked up to, who he saw matriculate from a low level at the bank to running the bank, right? And this white woman who facilitated Barack Obama that you know today, he didn't claim white when he ran for president. Barack Obama, who was Kenyan and white, with this white grandmother, told you he was black. Now, isn't that odd? Kamala Harris, very affluent family. Kamala Harris family afforded her private schools, colleges, but when Kamala Harris ran for president, she didn't give homage to her actual ethnicity of Indian and white. She ran as black. So when you say black pope, I wonder if you understand the question and the level of importance in 2025 in the way blackness is being used in 2025. Will there be a black pope? I don't know. Because do you understand how and what and which qualifies as black? Because if Barack Obama qualifies as black, then maybe it might be a black pope. If Kamala Harris, like Donald Trump said, wakes up and says that she's black today, and Donald Trump said, I didn't know she was black. It's okay. I'm not mad. It's okay that she's black, but I didn't know she was black, but she could be black. No one ever broke that down. They called Trump stupid, but I broke it down on my channel that Trump is highly intelligent, that you can choose to be black. You can, remember the white lady who was appropriating blackness with the Rachel Dolezal? See, the thing is that people didn't understand what Trump was saying when he said it's okay that Kamala Harris is assimilating blackness as race because her ethnicity can't change. Barack Obama's ethnicity is Kenyan, right? But black is a race. White doesn't. Black and white is these made up fictitious things that don't really exist, right? Donald Trump can be called white, but he's German ethnicity of descent, right? Von Trump, right? Front, right? So, but in America, that assimilates into whiteness. Italians recently, somebody talking about Scottish, right? Recently, Italians and Scottish and Irish have been allowed to assimilate into whiteness. So you could ask the same question, is it going to be a white pope, right? And some people might see, if you're looking at an American black, if you might say, oh no, that's an Irish pope, or they just said that was the first Jesuit pope, or that's a Scottish pope. To me, it's all a white man, right? To me, it's all a white man. But to you, or someone of a lay person might say, oh, it's more complex than that. So when you say black pope, I know it's a troll, because what you have is you have a lot of African archdioceses, and you have a lot of Africans that are in power in the Vatican and in the Catholic religion. So I don't know, especially recently what I saw on Twitter last week about how Africans feel about American blacks. It was some controversy. So I don't know if you would qualify if an African was chosen as pope, would you still say that person is black in 2025? So that's a hell of a question. It's actually a great question, because all of us are familiar with some very prominent and famous African priests. And we might even wonder, a lot of these African priests that have prominence, why haven't they been chosen as pope? But would it be fair then to say that now we have a quote unquote black pope, our first black pope, when we know it's an African? Same thing with Barack Obama. So you know what I'm saying? It's a sometime when you troll, you bring out some things like you tell on yourself with your racist inclinations, and a lot of racists are stupid and have a lack of understanding of these nuances, right? To a lot of racists, they only know black and white. They don't understand ethnicity. They don't understand these nuances, right? That their grandmother might be Polish. They might say, I'm proud white, when you're actually not. You are Slavic, right? And you may your family may not even came here in World War I or II, like Ben Shapiro. Y'all let Ben Shapiro talk all this shit, and his family wasn't even here during World War II. You know what I'm saying? They came here later. So a lot of people will be talking this white and black shit, do not understand intellectually, you know what I'm saying, what they're actually saying. But thank you, troll, for that. I'm gonna put your bitch ass on timeout for being a bitch in real life. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for allowing me to have that discussion. let's go to a video on Pete, because we starting off with Pete, and we're gonna get to Letitia James, and we might do some long format on Letitia James, because that's just, I don't know. I was like, when I was doing the title, I was like, man, the sweetest revenge, the sweetest what Lauryn Hill said, man, I just felt like, man, this is the sweetest revenge, man. And I'm waiting for Fannie Willis, man. My big fat Fannie, man. I'm waiting for Fannie Willis to get her comeuppance, man. And this is just the first year of 4 years. This is why this podcast is so important, and the support for this administration is so important, because, and this is the thing that you got to pay attention to, anybody who claims to have a voice and to be talking about issues, but not really understanding. It's a lot of grifters on YouTube who talk about things and don't really understand what they're talking about. Why is it important that this administration is successful? Because a lot of us who did not benefit from DEI, and I would argue it had an adverse effect on heterosexual Black American men. DEI and CRT merely existing. Now, if you're a heterosexual Black professional, then you understand these difficulties that exist. But a lot of us, we know to ignore these hurdles and focus on the prize, right? But our task got more complicated with the popularization of the term DEI and CRT, which a lot of us didn't even know about. That it came about in the Barack Obama administration, and DEI was directly tied to LGBTQ quotas and numbers. And everybody over the past 2 to 3 years who have been putting Black heterosexual men in the middle of this hyper-purple racial debate has known the entire time. What have they known the entire time? That DEI did not benefit Black heterosexual men. It was not created for Black heterosexual men as a result of BLM. It was created by Barack Obama to help increase LGBTQ numbers. And a lot of us to this day don't discuss honestly what position we were put in by these terms, right? In the corner we were put in by these terms. So let's get into this. And I bring up this DEI conversation because the Letitia James, the Attorney General, the AG and Fannie Willis, but it's not just Letitia James, it's not just Fannie Willis, it's not just the other guy who prosecuted Trump. It's the Black female DA that prosecuted Tory Lanez. You know what I'm saying? Did you guys know that it's another lawsuit that Shannon Sharp, Tony Busby, announced that he is suing Shannon Sharp for $50 million. Number one, Shannon Sharp announced that he's getting a $100 million contract like Wallow and Gilly. Shannon Sharp announces $100 million. Shannon Sharp is 55, 56 years old. And now Tony Busby has a lawsuit against him for SA for $50 million. Just to let you know how we've been affected by the Letitia James, the Fannie Willis, these individuals who have weaponized the law, and I believe have gone after Black men specifically, like with the RICOs, for their own benefit. So it is paramount. Y'all remember when 50 Cent said before and during the campaign, before Donald Trump won, before and during the campaign, they asked 50 Cent about the Black heterosexual male vote. Because remember, we were being attacked for supporting Trump and voting Republican, including 50 Cent. And they asked 50 Cent, why do you think Black men are voting and supporting Republican and voting for Trump? And 50 Cent said, because black men are facing RICOs. And everybody laughed. He was on Capitol Hill in a suit supporting Supreme Court legislation, and that was a very quick, but no one ever, so much is happening that we're not unpacking and having complete conversation. We're having little capsulized little clips. So when 50 Cent says they're facing RICOs, and he looks at the reporter and walks away, I got the book right here. It's the 48 Laws of Power. 50 Cent, this person was so impressed by 50 Cent that he wrote the backup to this book, the 50th Law, because he was so impressed by 50 Cent's intellect. A lot of people know about the 48 Laws of Power, but they don't know about the 50th Law of Power. And what you find in the book is a lot of praise. A lot of praise from Robert Greene about 50 Cent. And 50 Cent said they voted for Trump and they supporting Republicans because they facing all of these RICOs. So this Letitia James, this support of the Trump administration for I don't have enough likes, I don't have enough support today because this is such a serious conversation. What we're doing by supporting Trump is more than a podcast, is more than YouTube. When I educate on this YouTube channel, it's more than just talking. I understand what we were up against, like 50 Cent said in that 2-second clip. I understand what you and I were facing under democratic and liberal regimes. You were facing RICO charges over every day. So this thing about Letitia and Fannie Willis and Donald Trump is extremely important to the black male voter. There's a lot of reasons why the black male voter would want to support the Trump administration, but this right here, the lawfare that was used against Trump, I've argued the entire time, the lawfare that was used against Trump was old hat. And it was out the same playbook that heterosexual black men see in courtrooms every day. We just haven't seen it used against a white billionaire. And what we saw with Trump is first time, when we talk about two different judicial systems, is the first time we saw a white billionaire get put through the judicial system that's usually regulated for blacks, minorities, and poor people, and it was done by black female district attorneys in Atlanta and New York. So that was not lost on black men. That was not lost on 50 Cent. So when 50 Cent was asked why black men are voting for Trump and Republicans, he said because they're receiving RICOs. He was directly talking about Letitia James, Fannie Willis, the black DA from Los Angeles, the other black DA from New York. That's what 50 Cent was talking about. That's why support for the Trump administration is so important. That's why understanding why she needs to be prosecuted is so important, because it's understanding it's understanding the laws of power, bro. It's understanding what you were up against and where you were at under the Democrat. Do you know Fannie Willis was weaponized? Fannie Willis was weaponized to go after you under the Democrat and liberal regime. Fannie Willis was throwing a party for Joe Biden at the same time going after Trump. And Fannie Willis was caught in front of the judge and said, you can't do that. You cannot openly support Joe Biden and then prosecute. That's what you was facing, bro. And it's so serious. We cannot play games about what we really were up against. If think about this, okay, all jokes aside, if you don't like this conversation, if Kamala Harris would have won, imagine Kamala Harris being a lawyer, a AG, a secretary, a vice president, now president, with Letitia James and Fannie Willis underneath her. What do you think would have happened to you, black men? Do you know how important it was for you to vote for Trump and how important it is for you to support Republican? It's almost scary because I feel like the Republicans are playing with us again because we gotta support Republican. You know how do you know what we would have been up against? You know what kind of persecution heterosexual black men and not only that, but white men, with that black woman, so-called black woman as president, and these black female attorney generals and district attorneys, white heterosexual men and black heterosexual would have been in the frying pan. We need to talk about it more. We need to stop trolling each other, stop hating on each other. We need to understand more what we just missed. It's not about racism. It's about coming together in unity and understanding that men and traditional families and God and country, if we don't work together, this shit gonna be lost. Do you understand what you almost was? You almost was gone, bro. January 6th, 1,500 people was in jail. They would have stayed in jail. They would have lost. Do you know they home with their families right now? Trump let them all go home. Do you know white men and black men would have been in a frying pan for another 4 years? Kamala Harris, Letitia James, they would have tried to put Trump in jail and they would have went after all of us. They would have went after all of us. It would have, we joke about a matriarchy. We joke about it. We're not talking about what we just missed. And I think we need to talk about it more so we fight for what we have right now so we don't end up in that bag. We could end up in that bag. We joke about a matriarchy. Do you know what would have happened besides those 1,500 men would not have come home? Those men, have we talked? Men, fathers, husbands, men, those 1,500 men, like we could just lose. This is what happened in the pandemic. Like when they say, oh, 50,000 nurses, we can't lose 50,000 nurses. Can we lose 1,500 men? We just gonna throw away 1,500 men? But Trump brought those 1,500 men, fathers, husbands, American citizens, employees, he brought them home. Show value to men. Show value to men. Do you know what you would have been up against if Kamala Harris and the Dems would have finessed? Number one, she wasn't nominated. She didn't get one vote. Do you know what type of stranglehold on masculinity and heterosexuality there would have been under that black, so-called black female president and people like Letitia James? I'm going to play you something today. And it's scary. The way Letitia James sounds, the way she enunciates, it's scary that she would have been going and vying for more political power, because that you don't see that with Fannie Willis, Stacey Abrams. Like, these women want more power. It's not enough that she wanted to prosecute and take down Trump. She wants to be the president. She wants to be the man. She wants to wear the... I'm not going to say it. You know what I was going to say. You know what she want to wear. Young and May be wearing one when she go to the bathroom.
Well, Kate, sources told us last night that Hegseth set up this Signal chat that included about a dozen people, including his wife, his lawyer, and his brother, early on in his confirmation process as a way to kind of strategize with some of his closest advisors. But he apparently continued to use this particular Signal chat even after he was confirmed as Secretary of Defense. And last month, we are told he did, in fact, share those sensitive details about the military.
So whatever happened after this, Heggie, no more group chats. No more group chats, bro. I mean, from the beginning, it was corny. From the beginning, it was corny. Can we just say that it wasn't secure? It was corny. It wasn't professional. Group chats are not professional. If you working at too high a level, those of us who have worked in upper management are looking at you like, how the hell did you get in this position? And you still using the group chat. You do, because it can be, your words can be twisted and construed. I worked in upper management. Anybody in the chat worked in upper management? This guy is in a presidential cabinet. Why are you using a group chat? So number one, Heggie, no more group chats, Heggie. If you don't get fired, Heggie, no, in your personal life, in your private life, no more group chats, Heggie. Please. We are out here fighting for our lives. And your monkey ass keep doing group chats. These are lame. He's a lame. Man, the group chat, Heggie. The group chat was corny from the beginning, Heggie. Can somebody get this message to Petey? Petey Weedy? Heggie baby. Heggie baby. The group chat was corny from the beginning. To bring the group chat into your work life, that's questionable, bro. At the very least, that's not, that you don't understand this. You cannot understand this if you utilize group chats, bro. What are you doing, bro? Nobody with no common sense, nobody in no leadership role, even the manager at McDonald's is not going to go into the employees group chat. Do the employees have a group? Do the cooks have a group chat? Yeah. The cooks have a group. Do the sanitation have a, yeah. And I'm happy that the cooks have a group chat so they be on the same page. I'm happy that this, but I'm not, as the manager, as the assistant manager, I'm not in a group chat. I'm not communicating to my subordinates, to my staff via a group chat. Number one, it's not an official record of communication. You understand what I'm saying? If I'm communicating something to you seriously, it got to be an official communicate. The group chat is simple. The signal is a message. At a certain level, I'm not giving out messages. I'm giving out orders. And I'm not giving out orders via a message app because I need a record. I need a record that I gave you this order and when you did it, and if you didn't do it, and when you accomplished it, and how you did it. That's how leadership works. I'm not giving out orders. Well, I got a tip. Come on, PD, man. What you doing to us, bro? We got to win. And PD, you're playing with us, man. What you doing, PD? What you doing? Here you go. Break and Pete Heggie share exact human straight plans in second four-person signal chat with his wife, brother, and lawyer. Now, does it further complicate things that he shared it with the lawyer? I mean, and come on, I mean, so how did these people, this is the same question we had about the journalist. How do they get access? Because I had secure devices, secure message apps. How does the journalist get access? Because when to the layperson, they say, oh, I added them. Okay, you can't just add anyone to a secure messaging app. They have to be approved. They have to have an account and they have to be approved via the app before you can even add them. So they have to be part of the equation. So we never really talked about this signal debacle, the first one or the second one. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a lot of us who watch my channel, double tap the screen, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, Perfect Time Podcast with the blast, back with a dash. A lot of us are older. I check my analytics. A lot of the people watching, they watch it on a cell phone. They're 40 to 50 years old. What I am explaining to you with these secure apps is not like, even with Telegram. No, you can't just be added on Telegram. You have to create a Telegram account and be part of it, right? You have to be. So these individuals can't just simply be added to a Signal group chat. It's not just, it doesn't just happen that way. And they're not explaining that to you. There's journalists, you know what I'm saying? Anybody, hey, perfect. How you doing? You want to get on the Signal group chat? Okay. It's the same thing like Zoom. Let me explain it to you like that. Because a lot of us who may not have been familiar with Zoom before the time that shall not be named, we're familiar with Zoom now because we have to use Zoom with our kids. In school, we have to use Zoom with our telehealth appointments with our doctor. So with Zoom, if you get an invite to a Zoom, it's not enough. It doesn't magically, you don't magically, has anybody figured that out? Some of the older people watching, you know what I'm saying? When did you get your first Zoom invitation? When did you get your first Zoom invitation? I think I got Pete, I got Pete responding. Yeah, I got Pete responding to all the controversy. When did you get your first Zoom invitation? You know what I'm saying? And when did you realize that it's not like a phone call where you could just call somebody? No, you have to be part of Zoom. In order for you to participate in the Zoom call, you have to have a Zoom account. You have to go to Zoom, create your Zoom, and then because it works that way, because people don't know your Zoom ID, the way Zoom created the app is like, well, forget it. Just when you create a Zoom, just send the link to them. And then if they click this, and it barely works, but sometime you figure it out and you get into the Zoom call, but everybody usually late because it's difficult to get into the Zoom call because you're not calling someone. You have to add someone who's a member of Zoom and they have to join something so imagine Signal is like Zoom. And that's what the journalist said. I did not magically appear in the first Signal leak. He said, I received the invitation, much like a Zoom invitation. My question is, why does the brother, the mother, and the cow and the buffalo all have Signal IDs and being added to Signal group chats? Why does the journalist have a Signal account and the ability to be added to a Signal group chat? And if this is a secure CIA messaging app, these individuals, and I know this exists, should have a certain level of encryption that even if my wife is on the Signal app, she can't be added to this conversation because she doesn't have clearance. I set up user security. So I know how to do this myself in the mainframe of giving Pete a certain user profile and the journalist a different user profile, them being able to communicate on Signal, but not giving the journalist access to encrypted data and information in conversations and group chats. Why that didn't happen or exist, I don't know. And why and how is the wife, brother, and lawyer on Signal with the ability to be? It's a lot of questions, bro. And the Signal chat is just corny. Let's see what Pete had to say.
I want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with access to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know it, we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much. Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Pete, Heggy, baby. Heggy said hoaxed. I agree. So I agree with you, Heggy, baby. Heggy, baby, you're getting attacked, man, from all corners, man. I agree with you, Heggy, baby. There's hoaxsters out there, Heggy, baby. Straight up. But you have to take some accountability and stop using group chats. I don't want you fired. I don't want you and your family to, I don't want to be in the newspaper and none of that. You have a beautiful family and you a great American. You love our country. So I want you to be on our side and Donald Trump's side. But bro, come on, bro. I mean, I like the confidence and the braggadocio, but please, bro, you cannot be a complete cornball. Like you call them hoaxsters, man. Bro, no more group chats, bro. Straight up, bro. No more group chat. I love you, Petey Weedy. I love you, Heggy baby. But no more group chats, man. No more wire hanger. No more wire hanger. So we talked a little bit about, and I think that was awesome, man. Like we talked a little bit, I did a little segue about Letitia James. I'm about to play a video on her, but that was powerful when we just talked about, like a lot of times I'll be in my mind about what I'm gonna discuss on the podcast. And I did not think about that, but I do a lot of research. And a lot of times, like I got my 48 laws of power right here. And then I got the 50th law. I gave it to my son. But I remember when 50 Cent said that. And I remember how Black America absorbed it. They teased 50 Cent for his suit. They teased 50 Cent for being on Capitol Hill at the Supreme Court. Why is 50 Cent at the Supreme Court? And they didn't understand what 50 Cent was doing at the Supreme Court. And when 50 Cent, I remember a lot of Black intellectuals, they gave 50 Cent the people like Letitia James. When 50 Cent talked about RICOs, they just turned their nose to 50 Cent. Oh, 50 Cent is an idiot, and why does he talk about politics, and what is he talking about? Well, 50 Cent was talking about heterosexual Black men being persecuted under Democratic liberals and these Black female district attorneys and AGs and Secretary of State. That's what 50 Cent was referring to, us being fodder. Let's go to the video. It's important that we understand these things and we support and understand. So when people be making fun of us and people making fun of 50 Cent, or what does he mean by RICOs? Like we can articulate, hey, we were getting attacked, brothers. And imagine if that so-called Black woman would have won the presidency. And then you have people like Letitia James, who has a boss called Kamala Harris. Who you think they would have prosecuted next? Every white man, every heterosexual Black man, you would have been on a chopping block.
Joining us now, Congressman Daryl Isa of House Judiciary. So let's go through the allegations. Let's come down to the allegations. How serious are they? That she falsely claimed she was married to her father. She falsely claimed that Norfolk, Virginia home was her primary residence. It's 500 miles away from New York. And she told a mortgage lender that she was buying a 4-family dwelling in Brooklyn. It was a 5-family dwelling. What do you make of all this?
Well, it's quite serious because willful fraud in order to get an economic advantage is clearly much more serious than what she tried to allege from President Trump. It's one thing to say you think property's worth more than it may or may not be worth, or that you're richer than you think you are. That's open to some debate as to what you think things cost and are worth. But if you're just outright lying about where you live and what you're doing, there's no question at all. That's fraud, and it's extremely serious.
So it is serious. Does Congress or any House lawmakers plan to do anything about this?
Well, I think we're going to let the Department of Justice do their investigation, but we're going to be monitoring it. And Chairman Jordan takes very serious the whole point of getting the Department of Justice to go back to doing what it's supposed to do, which is both white-collar crime and, if you will, violent crime, and prioritize it appropriately. But this does seem to be one that's worth doing an investigation on. I'm glad they are.
So details is that the lady who was going after Trump for, and it's funny that for getting his apartment a favorable appraisal, and the bank, and there were no victims. The bank said, even if we overappraised and Trump made money, we all made money. So no one lost, no one was out any money. There's no victim. She still prosecuted Trump on that case, saying that nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. She kept saying nobody is above the law. Check this out. You got it.
As you mentioned,
this is her response. This is her response because
the allegations. We just say to all.
What is being alleged, just like in the Trump, she said Trump had forged some paperwork, or even if someone who worked for Trump did the paperwork, Trump was liable. Think about that. And that was never, ever argued before. The way these cases have been argued against Trump have been created, like I said, 2 systems of justice. When these creative law tactics is usually not used against white billionaires, first time. So she says Trump has to be held accountable for the fact that he got these overarching evaluations on his apartments and that it's a crime and a felony. That's what she was going after Trump for. Turns out that she lied on mortgage paperwork. You know how you get a lower interest rate if you marry? She put on the paper that she was married, but she put her father was her husband. Now, there's a lot of things that come into play. That's her lying to get better rates. That's what she said Trump did. But what if she actually was married and she lied to make sure that her husband did not have access to this equity, which is even further complicating these things that we don't know about, but looks at her character. So right now, what's on the chopping block is the fact that she lied on mortgage paperwork and said that she was married. And she was married to her father. She lied about the apartment complex. Where did she get the money to purchase the complex, having 4 units when it actually had 5? And then there was another paperwork that she lied about. But now she's being prosecuted in the same way Trump was being prosecuted for these paperclip crimes. And like I just played in the last report, that the DOJ should be focusing on white collar crimes and violent crimes. Everything that Trump was prosecuted was like a misdemeanor, did not arise to the level of white collar crime. They wanted you to believe it was white collar crime, but it wasn't. Let's listen to her reply.
New Yorkers and to all Americans. The allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour And as you mentioned, my office was successful in securing a $454 million judgment against Donald Trump and others for exaggerating the value of his assets. He engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And the interest is accruing each and every day while the case is on appeal in the First Department. It's important that individuals know that this is nothing more than the continuation of the tour. He went after law firms, universities, immigrants, women. Thousands of federal employees right now are unemployed. Our government is in chaos and in disarray.
What they got to do with you? What they got to do with you? So him in the Department of Education and everything, that got some. This your king? Is this your king? What they got to do with you breaking the law and lying on your mortgage paperwork and lying on your loan paperwork? This is what the Democrats did for 4 years, the bait and switch playing in your face. What does that have to do with you breaking the law? Breaking the law, breaking the law, bam, bam, breaking the law, breaking the law. Oh my, gee, no, I should have bought a Honda.
Medicaid, Social Security, CFPB, and the list goes on and on and on. And as you know, as you mentioned, each and every day, my office is leading the fight against these executive orders, which have no legal import at all, have no legal significance. And we are standing up for the rights and privileges of New Yorkers and Americans. I will not be silenced. I will not be bullied. I will not bend. I will not break. And I will not bow to anyone. No one is above the law, including the President of these United States.
Okay.
And the Office of the Attorney General will continue to stand up.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna bend. I'm gonna break. Imagine if Kamala Harris would have won and that person would have political aspirations to be even more powerful than she is now in the lie. You see how she just lied to you directly and did not. This is her response to her allegations. The allegations are baseless. And then she says, Donald Trump is going after federal employees when we all learned what the DOE is all about, the Department of Education. Nothing was, no, the state handles teachers, like just making up stuff out of the air. We knew the Department of Education needed to go away. We just learned about Harvard pocketing billions of dollars, Doge and Social Security paying dead people, paying people that are 115 years old. The Small Business Authority paying people that's 115, giving loans to newborns. We learned from Elon Musk and Doge that when individuals are born and given a Social Security number, that there is a pathway for scammers and hackers to take a brand new newborn Social Security number and go get monies and loans. We all was told that your birth certificate is worth money. We were told that your Social Security number is a bank account, but everybody thought that was a rumor. But Doge came about and said, no. I said Elon Musk messed up. He wasn't supposed to say that part, that when you're born, your Social Security number is valuable to hackers, because if people knew that, they would secure and hide that information a lot better. But when the baby is born, they put the Social Security number on every piece of paperwork and everybody's smiling. Hey, we got a brand new baby. Oh yeah, I fill out the paperwork. And hackers could take that Social Security number and create an account and steal money. And that's what people have been doing, according to Elon Musk. And so she equates Doge finding corruption and stolen monies to you breaking the law, How do you equate a 120-year-old dead person getting a loan to you lying on your mortgage paperwork? I don't understand that. That's questionable logic, and she should not be an attorney general with such questionable logic. If you broke the law. Look, Miss James, you broke the law. And whether or not there's corruption and fat to be trimmed at the DOE, at the Social Security office, at the SBA, it does not relate to you and you're breaking the law. Did you hear the way she was talking? I will not bend. I will not break. What else we got? Klaus Schwab steps down at the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab steps down. Let's take a look at this one.
A year ago, roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Happy Valentine's Day. She, of course, referring to Donald Trump. Our next guest using that tweet against her. No one is above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Letitia, on Valentine's Day a year ago, roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you.
Do you see this? Today we had a hell of a conversation. I know YouTube didn't push out the video, and I believe YouTube didn't push out the video today because we had a hell of a conversation today. Like, I know people listening is like, because I'm so with my delivery, you might think overzealous or I'm over exaggerating the point. The point today was what you almost lived in and why you should fight, why you should be watching this channel, why you should support this channel. Do you read this tweet? This is an attorney general. This is not just the district attorney. This is the top cop. This is the top cop who decides who gets prosecuted, who don't get prosecuted. Today we talked about what it would look like under that regime. And when I talked about regime, I know people might think he's putting too much on it. This is what I meant by regime. This is what 50 Cent meant by RICOs. This is why 50 Cent, when asked, why were black men supporting Trump? Why are black men voting Republican? This is why. This is the power we were fighting. This was an existential fight. This was a Marvel. When I was a kid, we had X-Men comic books, and it was X-Men. What was it? It was, what was the name of that comic book that X-Men we would want to, X-Men versus X Factor? Man, I forget the name. I'm missing it right now. But this was an existential fight because this is an eternal general in her professional capacity. And this is what she is saying to the future president. She thinks it's funny. How old was Barron when she did this tweet in 2020? Barron's 17, he probably is in high school. This is a professional. Look at her smile. This black woman is supposed to be a professional, a lawyer, attorney general, with her eyes on the governor's mansion. And she tweets out, roses are red, violets are blue, no one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Happy Valentine's Day. This is what she's tweeting the president. In a professional capacity, just like Pete shouldn't be in a group chat, she should not even be on. Remember how everybody said, oh, Trump uses Twitter. Trump always is tweeting. Why is Trump tweeting? This is a professional. It says Tish James. This is who you would have empowered. This is who Roland Martin, D.L. Hughley, this is who all these people wanted you to be under. We were going to be under a real matriarchy, not a joke, not a manosphere talking point. Real power, real fucking persecution. You were fucking facing a real fucking regime, bro. And they're not done. 2028 is coming, and there's not enough fucking people watching. I'm about to close this out. Let's watch this so we can get up out of here. I'm about to close this out.
Happy Valentine's Day. She, of course, referring to Donald Trump. Our next guest using that tweet against her. No one is above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Letitia James. Florida Congressman and Florida gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds is with us. Congressman, it's great to see you. Pretty ironic. Karma, payback, revenge, all of them apply here. Do you think the DOJ actually charges her?
Well, if it's clear that she violated the law and she was committing mortgage fraud, not to mention, as I understand it, if you're going to be the New York Attorney General, how are you claiming that you live in another state? That just doesn't work. And so if all these things pan out to be true, she should be charged. She was quick to charge Donald Trump, saying that he put fraudulent information on a loan application. Well, that's what she's accused of doing right now. And
Right.
She also accused Donald Trump of saying that Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. I mean, we all know that was just stupid and a lie. So
Right.
if they go through their investigation and they find evidence, probable cause, that she was committing mortgage fraud for her own benefit, of course she should be charged. That's the way our system of justice works.
It all happened in 2023. So that's when she falsified these records, allegedly. And that was the same year she put Donald Trump on trial. Do you have any concerns about her being married to her father? Is that something we need to look into?
Listen, I think everybody's got concerns about that one. That's just not something that everybody thinks is cool. I don't. It's just weird, to quote a former person running for the vice presidency that we won't talk about. But look, at the end of the day, this is what happens. You have these officials who want to go on these witch hunts, while at the same time they're doing dirt behind the shadows. In the shadows. It's simply wrong. She should be held accountable like anybody else.
Simply wrong. She should be held accountable like everybody. Shout out to Deborah Carr. How you doing, sister? Seeing you in a minute. Thank you for supporting and watching. God bless you. God bless you and your family. Easter just passed, so prayer covering over you and yours, and I pray you got to be around some loved ones and, all that good stuff, man. Powerful, powerful message right here. Powerful, powerful message right here. So I'm going to be watching this one. My hope is that the DOJ does charge her because she did break the law and she did charge Trump. So I think there's legal precedent for her to be charged. There's legal precedent for her to be charged, and there's legal precedent for her to be convicted. Don't you find it funny that in her response, the first thing she said in her response was that Trump owes the $450 million? Let's look at her response again.
Baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour. And as you mentioned, my office was successful in securing a $454 million judgment against Donald Trump and others for exaggerating the value of his assets.
And that's what she did. And that's what she did. I mean, it's the bait and switch. It's the look over here. It's the made you look. I mean, it's everything. I mean, it's the character of these individuals, man. It's so
that's her house.
So only she lives there?
Oh, check this out. Check this out. Oh, I like this. I like this. We got some more on Miss James. We got some more on Miss James. Miss James. This is information. This is her neighbor.
It's James,
Oh,
the Attorney General.
oh, okay.
So that's her house.
So only she lives there?
Her family lives there,
Oh, really?
but
Okay. I didn't-
they have apartments. The C of O should not have changed. It's just,
Well, it's kind of confusing because it says 1 to 4 family, and then it says just one family.
on the C of O,
Yes.
The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud.
Early this year, Project Veritas received these documents from a source and has been in the process of verifying the documents.
In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan.
But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband.
What? They said her Robert James and his wife. Y'all see that right there?
In order to file as a married couple.
And her dad is deceased. Wow. They got all the records. Her dad is deceased at the time that she put her father as her husband on her mortgage paperwork to get a more favorable loan. Remember, we had that talk about traditional marriages and the value of marriage, that people and naysayers on this channel who say they don't believe in marriage and the benefits of marriage. Now, why would someone who has a bright future and has all this recognition put that in jeopardy? Because of how expensive property is. Now, when she gets caught, I bet you dollars to donuts, she plays the race card. I bet you she plays the race card because there is validity in the fact that you don't get accurate appraisals when someone black owns the home. So I bet you dollars to donuts, when it all comes down, when it all comes down, she's gonna cry racism. And she's gonna say she had to do it because as a black woman, she was being discriminated against and she was getting unfair interest rates and unfair loans until she did this. But what about actually being married? Why not actually get married? Why not actually get married? Why not actually get married? And if she was married and the father was deceased, was this theft? Was she stealing money from a husband who didn't know about these acquisitions? Now, I don't know if she was married. Y'all got to tell me. Y'all can go to Wikipedia and come back tomorrow and say, perfect, we looked it up. Tish was married in 1980, because there's a couple things going on here. Number one, she frauded the government. She frauded the system to get more favorable loans. And immediately, as a man living in this day and age, I also wonder, was she in a committed relationship? Because if you're in a committed relationship, that's what they call, what kind of property? Somebody put it in the chat. It's not mutual property. What do they call that kind of property when y'all be married and y'all be together? So was she hiding property? Was she hiding this acquisition so that her partner couldn't benefit from the sale of it at a later date? Or did she know she was getting married and she wanted to hide the fact that she owned this property by forging the mortgage paperwork from her soon-to-be husband? Either way, it's theft. Either way, it's theft because you're robbing me in monies I'm entitled to. Is it community property? What's it called? I forget what it's called. What's it called? Is it community property? But that's something for us to investigate. Whether or not she was married or soon to be married when she lied. And it turns out she lied on multiple paperwork about her father being her husband. And it's proven via the documents that we just showed that her father was deceased. Here it is right here. I love you too when you do your research, man, and you present these facts. Robert James and Letitia James, his wife, she's listing her father as her husband, right? There's no denying this. And that's why they say this case will be a pretty open and shut case because the paperwork don't lie.
Some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple.
And right there, what does that say? What does that say? Deceased. And she filed it. So she's knowing at the time, this is to state of mind. You understand? This is the state of mind of the person when the crime is committed. And this is to a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, but I understand this because they say this stuff to black men, so black men understand the laws and the rights all the time. So that goes to state of mind and criminality. She argued that Trump was criminal for what he did. I would argue, prosecuting her, that she was criminal and had a depraved mind when she told that lie on that paperwork because she knew her father was deceased. And I would argue to a jury and a judge that that proves state of mind, that she knew she was committing a crime and she knew she was doing wrong because she was the one who submitted the paperwork that her father was deceased. So she knew her father was deceased, and she knew when she put her name on that paperwork that she would benefit. That's criminal. That goes to state of mind. Now keep that in mind because there is a case going on right now that I'm not talking about. Community property. Thank you for PSYOP. Community property. There's a case going on right now that relates to. Let's finish watching this.
Questions also raised about James's Brooklyn home. 2001 city records show it was a 5-family dwelling, which experts say would require a commercial property loan with perhaps higher interest rates. But James allegedly listed it as a 4-family unit.
We were knocking earlier and no one was answering, so we're starting.
Okay. Well, you can always leave a note.
Wow. So now we understand why she lied again on the paperwork. That simple lie between 4 and 5 was $500,000 and a different type of loan. She would have had to get a commercial loan, probably LLC, and do all these other things if she would have been honest that it was actually 5 units. Now, she could also lie, which a lot of land slumlords do, and say, so this is what slumlords do. They could have something that's 4 units and then build it out to 6 units. And then, you know what I'm saying? Take the 3-bedroom and take 2 1-bedrooms, but they reconfigured the whole apartment. And once was 4 units, is now 6 units. They never reported. Now, why would they not report it? For tax purposes and what we just learned today. This is a real slumlord. Again, this goes to character, state of mind, criminal. These are the police. These are the people in your neighborhood. These are the people supposed to be protecting us. Freaking slumlord. Why did she lie? So she could get free money. I got 4 units, but I really got 5. If I really got 5, I'm only paying tax. As a slumlord, when I report my earnings, I'm only reporting I got 4 units. And they said my brother lived in 1, so I'm only reporting the fact that I got maybe 1 or 2 tenants. But in actuality, I have more units than I've told the government. And this is real slumlord shit. And then I get to keep the money. I get to keep the money from that 5th unit, and I get to keep the taxes. So she's stealing. Not only is she stealing, She's stealing from the government. She double dipping. She's stealing from the government, and she's stealing from you. She's stealing from us by not getting the proper loan and insurance and protection. So if the building catches on fire, there's a unit that won't be covered in the insurance. This is real slumlord criminal behavior. She's not paying the taxes to the state, locally. So we're going to be following Letitia James. Man, thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Sayub. Thank you for everybody watching, supporting the channel. This has been a great show today. We're going to be back every day, every morning, top of the mid-morning podcast, first time podcast with the blast, 10 to 11 a.m. Y'all know how we get down, same time, and there's a lot to talk about. So we got to talk about the Letitia James. We talked about Pete Hegseth. We didn't really get into Klaus Schwab stepping down from the World Economic Forum. You know, I don't know how many people really know about the World Economic Forum and the Bilderberg, but we talked a lot about Klaus Schwab because I got a lot of videos taken down during that time because of my information and my intelligence when in regard to the pandemic and a lot of those things. I had a lot of unique information that I wanted to share on my channel that YouTube shut me down. So when we talk about Klaus Schwab and his book, COVID-19, The Great Reset, and the policies that Klaus Schwab successfully put forward and the design that he had for you in your life. Now, today we talked about a lot about what you could have lived in. You could have lived in Klaus Schwab. You could have lived in Kamala Harris. You could have lived in Letitia James. Imagine being in Georgia if Stacey Abrams and Fannie Willis and all these people had their way and all these people got the power that they wanted. We talking about a living hell that we never discuss. And then again, when it comes up, people will say to black people, oh, don't vote. I don't vote. Your vote don't matter. Really? Really? Your vote don't matter? I think we need to start voting and understand being politically advantageous and understand what the fuck we almost fucking lived in. Yes, you need to fucking vote. You need to fucking vote and you need to fucking understand the candidates and what the fuck they're doing. And next time 50 Cent says they're voting Republican because of RICOs, wake the fuck up and don't let fake intellectual black niggas tease 50 Cent. Because 50 Cent had a motherfucking point. 50 Cent had a motherfucking point. Kamala Harris is a fucking attorney general. Kamala Harris is a fucking district attorney of San Francisco. Just like Letitia James. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. Just like Fannie Willis. You have no idea what the fuck you almost lived in. You have no idea what the fuck, why they would want to fucking assassinate Trump. Why they would, do you know the power they were going to usher in? It would have been uncontrollable like a fucking movie because if all of those black women would have been put in power, even the motherfuckers who put them in power wouldn't have been able to control them bitches. And you would have been in the frying pan. Every white heterosexual man, every black, Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels, everybody would have been put in a fucking frying pan. And they would have laughed at you. And they, just like Jesus got crucified, you know what the fuck you almost lived through. You need to get on your knees and thank God. The crucifixion of Jesus was a public crucifixion. They made him carry the cross. They cursed him and threw stones. They nailed him through the cross and held him up for days. And everybody, it was a public, that's in human nature. The book, we just, it's not a joke. They would have held you up. They would have held you up in effigy. Do you see how many prosecutions they had Trump? If Kamala Harris would have won, they would have danced him into a cell. If Kamala Harris would have won, they would have danced Trump into a cell, and your goofy black ass would have laughed, and you would have been right behind him. Because they play you with race. Your goofy black ass would have been laughing, and you would have been right behind them. And they would have did Rico after Rico after Rico after Rico until no more black men left. Right now, Trump is going after the Latinos and saying, you MS-13. What I am arguing to you is that if Kamala Harris and these bitches would have been put in power, every black man would have been a gang member. Just like they tried to say this boy in Texas is a gang member. Every black man would have been a gang member and subject to RICO and prosecution. People getting deported for simply being Latino under Trump because so many Latinos came in. If Kamala Harris and the Democrats would have been in power, every black man would have been a gang member, just like with YSL, and you would have been subject to prosecution. You have no idea what you escaped. And because of that, you don't know what to do now. Deborah Carr said she signed her dead father's signature on the mortgage paper. That's fraud. Yes, it is. And I hope that the DOJ prosecutes her because she don't need to be in power. We don't need to see her in 2028. Her, Fannie Willis, that whole regime. But it takes us. It can't just be me talking to two people and the troll laughing at me.